Hi everyone, and welcome back to Urban Pulse GY, your planning podcast, where we highlight developmental initiatives in Guyana, navigate planning issues, and explore potential solutions. I am Cassandra Limberg Finance, your host and planning coach. Did you know that during the first half of the 18th century, the township of New Amsterdam was located not where it currently is, but approximately 55 miles up the Berbice River in the vicinity of Fort Nassau along the riverbank? Yes, it was. And it was called New Amsterdam, but spelt different. Sometime later, the Dutch relocated the seat of governance downstream to where the town of New Amsterdam is now located. Did you know that? But for more of this and other interesting facts, stay tuned to today's Planning Digest segment, where we'll be learning more about our Dutch history here in Guyana. So to date, we've looked at 6 planning theories, and I mentioned that there are many theories that govern planning for urban and rural areas. Today we'll be looking at the final 2 for this season. The others, we will explore them as we go through future episodes. The 2 theories that we'll be looking at or pulsating around today are the right to the city and the theory of community development. So, the first one we'll talk about is the right to the city. When you think about the right to the city, what comes to mind? I hope you're thinking of like the rights of the child. I hope you're thinking of human rights. Well, the right to the city is a concept in urban planning theory that emphasizes certain critical rights like inclusivity, accessibility, and democratic control over urban and regional spaces. This theory challenges the dominance of market forces, and it advocates for citizens' participation to be a key consideration in shaping of development. The concept originated from a French philosopher in 1963, where she argued that urban spaces should not be solely controlled by market forces, but that it should be shaped and governed by the citizens who inhabit it. Later, Marxist geographer by the name of David Harvey, he developed the idea forward, and he described the right to the city as far more than just the individual liberties to access urban resources. He noted, it is a right to change ourselves by changing the city. This transformation requires collaborative power to shape urban processes. The right to the city is a common right, not an individual one. So these were the arguments. So the theory considered the following as essential demands, and it included government subsidized housing, access to public spaces, participation in urban and rural governance. It considered that it's a cry for social justice and democracy in urban environment. Overall, the message of the theory is that every citizen has the right to shape and benefit from his or her city. The theory of community development is the other theory we'll be talking about this evening. In urban planning, the theory of community development emphasizes the importance of community involvement and empowerment in the planning process. It advocates for housing, education, politics, equity, health, ecology, economics, culture, institution, and for people, its citizens. This theory is a community development framework for creating equitable and sustainable urban environments by prioritizing community involvement and the empowerment of people in the planning process. It stresses that residents should actively participate in planning decisions that affects them. Hence, they are encouraged to participate in public meetings, or I should rephrase that. You are encouraged to participate in community planning decisions, like public meetings, workshops, collaborative planning sessions that are put together when activities for your community development is being planned. Through these means, residents are given a voice to share their ideas and concerns about development in their neighborhood. It also allows for us to embrace a bottom-up approach where planners work with residents to identify their needs, their priorities, and the visions they have for their future. So it's not like planners are coming and they're coming from the big cities and they're coming with their ideas that this would work well if we put a bridge here, this is how the community will benefit. When the people on the ground who have the knowledge of why it may work or why it may not work are not involved in the process, right? So this bottom-up approach encourages persons in the communities to participate in the planning process, share their ideas and their vision, and that would be the instrument that informs the planners on how the development should be guided. The theory also encourages collaboration and partnership among various stakeholders like you, the residents, your community leaders, organizations within your community like NGOs. You may have youth group, church organizations. Also, government agencies are key stakeholders, private sector entities. All of them create strong partnerships that are essential for implementing plans and achieving community goals, promoting economic development, and improving quality of life. In our last Planning Digest segment, we looked at the downfall of the Berbice society at the hand of the enslaved Africans and their failed rebellion. In today's Planning Digest, we will look at the role the Dutch settlers played in shaping urban and regional planning here in Guyana, but specifically in the context of Berbice. The Dutch settlers had a significant impact on urban and regional development in Berbice, and we can start by talking about the establishment of the town of New Amsterdam. The first capital in Berbice was called New Amsterdam, but spelt N-I-E-U, not new. It's pronounced the same way, but it was spelt different. This town was located approximately 55 miles up the Berbice River during the first half of the 18th century, and it was around Fort Nassau. This settlement was a small township with buildings primarily aligned along the riverbank. Later, the Dutch decided to relocate the seat of governance downstream to the confluence of the Berbice and Kanji River, which led to the birth of the town we now know as New Amsterdam. This site was chosen because it provided a natural outlet and an interpot for a very extensive and productive hinterland. The name New Amsterdam was selected because most of the shareholders were from the province of New Amsterdam in Holland. Well, we see that New Amsterdam was established along the Berbice River, which was used to facilitate the transportation of trade. In previous planning presentation, we noted that when settlements are located along roads or along rivers, they are classified as linear, and they allow for easy access to resources and markets, and it lays the groundwork for future urban and regional development, as we now see in the case of New Amsterdam and its economic and social influences it now holds. As it pertains to the Dutch influence as we consider infrastructural development, the colony grew, and so did the need for infrastructure. The Dutch settlers, they began constructing roads and bridges and canals. All of these were done to connect plantations to ports and to towns. Infrastructure not only facilitated trade, but it also contributed to the development of urban centers where commerce thrives. The town of New Amsterdam in Berbice emerged as the administrative center and commercial hub due to its focus on connectivity. The governance structures established by the Dutch in Berbice also played a significant role in shaping urban planning policies. The Society of Berbice managed land distribution and also settlement patterns through regulations, and they used these regulations to dictate how land should be used. These regulations directly influenced urban growth and development strategies, not only in Berbice, but throughout Guyana. There you go, my friends. Digest on that. Now, this has brought us to the end of today's podcast, where we discussed planning theories and we explored our history from the perspective of the Dutch settlers in Berbice. Join us again next week. And remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe to our content on Facebook and YouTube, as together we build sustainable communities and a better Guyana. Bye, friends.